coming to today's meeting. First on today's agenda, we will be looking at an article recently published on the BBC website. It's an article by Judith Burns, who's a BBC News education reporter, and the title is "Costly High-Tech Kit Lies Unused in Schools," says study. The researchers for the National Endowment for Science, Technology and Arts, otherwise known as NESTA, say there is clear evidence that technology can boost learning.
Chief Executive Jeff Mulligan said a tablet replacing an exercise book is not innovation, it's just a different way to make notes. This is a good point, I do believe this, but also pupils need time to play around with new technologies in their own time, so to not only become familiar with the equipment but to use it more effectively and to come up with more creative ideas.
The thing is, they can't actually use it and play around with it if they don't know how to if they don't have a basic understanding of it, and if they don't have a basic understanding of it, it's most likely because the teacher doesn't. For instance, in here it said that there's no question that hardware such as interactive whiteboards, digital tablets, or software such as educational games could help improve pupils' learning if used properly. So as long as it's used properly, it'll be fine. But because no one knows how to use it, they can't.
Yeah, I agree with that, because PowerPoint is one of those things, it looks creative. You know, you've got the images you can use on the whiteboard now, whereas previously you couldn't do. The teachers will use the template of a PowerPoint rather than extending and using their own creative ideas and inputs.
Instead.
That's what it is, it's both teachers and pupils need more time to develop opportunities for more creative learning.
And I think sometimes you'll find that students actually have better understanding of technology than teachers do. I mean, we found that, especially with some lessons where they're showing a video online, but they don't have the video loaded up and ready.
Yeah.
And that is something like simple little things like that I think can waste a lot of time in a lesson.
Yeah, which is often why basically it doesn't get used, does it? Because teachers are more scared of using it because they just don't know.
Both teachers and pupils need time to develop opportunities for more creative thinking.
I think a lot of teachers use templates given to them on the computer rather than using their own creative input to create a better learning environment.
Often you find that these things are unused because teachers are scared of using them because they don't know how, but the children are more likely to. So it just puts them off, which is why it just lies unused.
It says here that the Associate Professor Sharon Ainsworth from the University of Nottingham told the BBC News, "We are saying that technology could be much more effective if teachers and learners are given the right sort of training and use it in the right sort of ways." For example, at the moment on our teacher training course, one of our modules is lifelong learning as a professional in the digital age. I just wondered what your views are on the module and whether you found it helpful.
Absolutely, particularly me. I definitely found it useful, and still are. I've never had much experience with new technologies, so it's expanded my knowledge of tools used, technologies, even just basic use of computers, and I also now have better understanding of my phone with apps and memory and just everything. Crazy, but yes, I totally agree. It has been a very worthwhile lesson to know about technologies.
I already have some experience with some of these things from school and everything, but it's taught me a lot about my computer and how it doesn't work.
Yeah, I found this module really useful as well. I've always used PowerPoint, Word documents, things like that, but I found other programs online that are really simple to use. As I was saying earlier, we all use technology in our daily lives and it has become the norm. I did used to find at school that it was a bit boring, that the teacher led the technology rather than everyone collaborating together and using it, as I do think it is a useful tool. Yeah, it says here in the article that digital technology offered vast opportunities for pupils to learn with others, but these ideas are simply not filtering through to the education system where tests and examinations still focus on individual attainment.
Well, no, absolutely, I do agree that new technology should benefit pupils a whole lot more by using group working, collaborative and scaffolding, all in the classroom, so it helps not only the pupils support each other, but also the lecturers and the teachers learn more as well.
It's basically saying they're still using a smart board or active board as a blackboard. You know, it's not being used in an interactive way, which
I've had probably out of the hundreds of lessons using interactive whiteboards that I've been taught out when I was at secondary school, maybe primary school, I'm not sure if they were introduced then, but in only a handful of them have I actually been able to use the whiteboard myself. So I think it is important that we start involving the kids in the use of these digital tools. A recent programme that we've all come across as part of our lifelong learning module is Prezi. I'd say, would you all agree that this would be a very useful tool within a classroom environment?
Yeah, like we used it back in A-level for business, and it's so easy to use. Like the only issue I had was like adding extra things onto it, but that's only because I didn't know how to use it properly.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more interactive, and it just looks visually, it looks a lot more interesting rather than it just going from slide to slide to slide. It has a lot more edge to it, I think.
It's the way it zooms in. You get an overall space, you get an overall view at the start, and then it just zooms straight into the first point and then zooms out and goes back into the next. I just think it is the future.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It is the future, isn't it?
Brilliant. I think that's an appropriate place to end today's meeting. I'd like to thank you all for coming. I think we've addressed a very important issue. And yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for being here.